UTEP football fans have not had a lot to get excited about since really the 1960s. They have not won a bowl game since 1967, have only had 7 winning seasons in the last 50 years, with 20 seasons of 10 losses or more, and had not seen much success on the recruiting trail. That was until the arrival of Scott Walden. While UTEP would go 3-9 in his first season as head coach, that would not stop Walden from signing the top class in the Conference USA in both years and reviving high school recruiting for the Miners, something that seemed unfathomable less than 18 months ago. Heading into this season, there's a lot of excitement around the Miners football program, as some believe they may even be able to hit 10 wins and compete for the Conference USA title. This is the insane rise of UTEP football. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know what school you want me to talk about in the future in the comments section below. To understand why this season can be so special, we need to first go back and understand the history of UTEP football. The Miners program dates back to 1914. They would play as an independent until joining the Border Conference in 1932. Max Saxon would go down as the school's winningest head coach, going 66-43-9 from 1929 until 1941. Just to put things in perspective. They would make their first of 8 appearances in the Sun Bowl from 1936 to 1967 in 1936, beating Hardin-Simons. During that period, they would go 5-3, beating the likes of Florida State, TCU, and Ole Miss in said bowl game. Under head coach Mike Brumbelow, the Miners would win their first and only outright conference title in 1956 when they finished the year 9-2. Brumbelow would retire following the season and moved into the athletic director role, finishing with a 46-24-3 record and the highest winning percentage of any coach in UTEP football history. After the success of Bobby Dobbs, who went 41-35-2 as head coach, the program would enter its dark days, as they have not won a bowl game since beating Ole Miss in 1967, would not make a bowl game until 1988 when they lost the Independence Bowl to Southern Miss. Bob Stoll would be the head coach at the time, leading them to their first winning season since 1970 and 1987 and a 10-3 record in 1988. Following the season, Stoll would leave to become the head coach at Missouri, finishing 21-15, and the program would go back to being terrible, going 44-128 from 1989 to 2003. Though 2000 would be a bright spot, as in his first season as head coach, Gary Nord led the Miners to a share of the WAC conference title, with TCU as they would go 8-4 and 7-1 in conference play. Though they did lose to TCU 47-14 in the regular season finale, and to Boise State 38-23 in the Humanitarian Bowl. That would be a high point for Nord, as he would only win 2 games in each of his next 3 seasons, and he was let go with a 13-34 record following the 2003 season. The man who replaced Nord as head coach was someone Miners fans probably never expected to land. That man is Mike Price, who was coming off a very successful stint serving as Washington State's head coach, leading the Cougars to 2 Pac-12 titles and 2 Rose Bowl appearances. He would leave Washington State in 2002 after going 10-3, and finished with an 82-78 record. He was hired by Alabama to replace head coach Dennis Franchione, but would only hold the head coaching job for 4 months. In May of 2003, Price was seen at a strip club during a trip to Pensacola, Florida, where he was playing in a golf tournament and charged his hotel room over $1,000 by an unknown woman. This came only weeks after new president Robert Witt warned Price about how he acted off the field. One sophomore waiter at Buffalo American Grill told USA Today he came in with some of his coaches and they had a bite to eat and they were drinking some wine. One time, I think they all hung out until like 5 in the morning. When he parties hard. Witt was brought in to change the image of Alabama and was hired one day after Price began spring practice. That same week, the city of Tuscaloosa changed its closing hours for local bars, no longer allowing bars to stay open all night long. In his first week on the job, Witt also complained that the national coverage of a Tuscaloosa ordinance banning couches on front porches further stereotyped the Animal House image of the university. After the catastrophe in Pensacola, Witt told the press Coach Price had been warned several weeks before about his public conduct. His conduct in Florida was not consistent with the warning he received. Price would spend 2003 not on the sideline, but would be hired by UTEP that December. UTEP athletic director Bob Stoll cited a relationship with Price that dates more than 20 years as part of his reasoning for giving him the opportunity. His coaching credentials made him a strong candidate to lead a team that had long been at the bottom of the Western Athletic Conference. Stoll explained, "I've always viewed him as not only a tremendous coach, but a great person and an outstanding representative of college football. He has done a remarkable job of turning around programs and building nationally ranked teams." Price was hoping to land the Arizona head coaching job, but instead landed in El Paso when the Wildcats weren't interested. Price found immediate success leading the Miners to back-to-back 8-4 seasons as they moved from the WAC to the Conference USA. It would be the first time since 1953 to 1954 that the Miners would make it to back-to-back bowl games. They also showed up in the AP poll for the first time in school history in 2004. UTEP earned its first ever ranking in the AP poll in 2004, rising as high as 23rd in early November. Price was a finalist for the Eddie Robinson Award and Paul Bear Bryant Award for Coach of the Year. 2005 would be the Miners' last winning season under Price, but he would become the second coach in school history to lead UTEP to 3 bowl games when they made the New Mexico Bowl in 2010. Price joined Brumbelow in that honor. Following the 2012 season, Price would retire with a 48-61 record and was replaced by Sean Kugler. Kugler would lead UTEP to the 2014 New Mexico Bowl as they would achieve their first winning record since 2005. Along with that, Kugler's team achieved a perfect APR academic score of 1,000 at the highest GPA and graduation rate in school history. Both Aaron Jones and Will Hernandez played for UTEP under Kugler, but after a 0-5 start in 2017, he would resign with an 18-36 record. Price would serve as the interim head coach as the Miners finished the season 0-12. Dana DeMel would be hired to replace Kugler after serving as Bill Snyder's offensive coordinator for 9 years at Kansas State and went 30-39 as head coach at Wyoming and Houston. DeMel and the Miners really struggled his first 3 seasons with a pair of 1-11 seasons and a 3-5 record in 2020, but turned things around with a 7-6 record in 2021, where they would lose the New Mexico Bowl. After a 5-7 and 3-9 season in 2022 and 2023, he would be fired by UTEP with a 20-49 record. Things went off the rails when UTEP became solely focused on JUCO players to keep things going after the 2021 season. The man chosen to replace him would be the young Scotty Walden. Walden was originally from Texas and began his coaching career serving as the offense coordinator of Sol Ross after being the school's starting quarterback. He was then hired away by rival East Texas Baptist as their offense coordinator, and after Joshua Eargle left to become the offensive coordinator at Austin Peay, they would choose to promote the 26-year-old Walden to be the school's next head coach. After going 7-3, Walden would leave to join Southern Miss's coaching staff, going from wide receiver coach to co-offensive coordinator to even interim head coach. After a 1-3 start in 2020, Walden stepped down as interim head coach to take the Austin Peay head coaching job as he prepared for the spring season. In 4 seasons at Austin Peay, he would lead the Governors to the ASUN Conference title as well as the United Athletic Conference title and a berth in the FCS playoffs after finishing as a top 10 team in 2023. He would go 26-14 and was hired by UTEP. Walden had a tough task on his hands as the Miners only had 7 winning seasons in the last 50 years, during that same time lost 10 or more games in a season 20 times. UTEP athletic director Jim Center spoke on the hiring, saying he is one of the most innovative and energetic young coaches in the nation. His teams are characterized by fast pace and high-scoring offenses and opportunistic defenses. Others considered for the job according to the El Paso Times included UNLV offense coordinator Brennan Marion, Texas Tech offense coordinator Zach Kitley, Texas Tech associate head coach Kenny Perry, and former UTEP offense coordinator Eric Price, all of whom would have been good hires. Walden was expected to fix the offense, which was viewed as his number one task, as it had been terrible going back to 2008 when Eric Price left for the NFL. Brett Bloomquist wrote back in 2023, "The Governors were creative under Walden, and that's not a word that's been associated with UTEP's offenses of the last decade. Imagination seemed anathema in the Kugler age, and while that improved under DeMel, that ended up on the field wasn't always much fun to watch. Many expected Walden to have to rely on JUCO players at UTEP due to the area and what UTEP was, but instead he abandoned the JUCO heavy recruiting route and focused on Texas high school recruits and the transfer portal. Walden would sign UTEP's best recruiting class in school history within his first few months in El Paso. They would bring in Westbrook edge Jalen Jones as the crown jewel of the class, who would be the best player to sign with the Conference USA team for the 2024 cycle. Although UTEP struggled going 3-9 in 2024, he would still sign the best class in Conference USA for the 2025 cycle. There were 23 new players for the Texas high schools, 2 from Oklahoma, 1 from Illinois, and an offensive lineman from Monterrey, Mexico. They would shatter their program record of 10 3-stars in a recruiting class, with 17 3-stars in 2025. Heading into the 2025 season for the first time in a very long time, there's seemingly hope when it comes to the minors program. They would add former 5-star recruit Malachi Nelson this offseason, who transferred in from Boise State after starting his collegiate career at USC. Nelson becomes the highest rated recruit in UTEP history. UTEP went all in on recruiting Nelson to El Paso with the advice of Lane Frank, the host of Schoolyard Sports podcast, who was brought on to the NIL advisory board at UTEP. Frank explained, "This past August, I made a segment on my show, Schoolyard Sports, where I said that Malachi Nelson was the hidden gem of college football. We didn't win the Boise State job and hop back in the portal again. I was thinking he could probably go to a Group of 5 school. This is a guy who's very interesting, and I don't think that UTEP had Malachi Nelson on their radar at all. Then I make a few calls and texts and I say, let's go get this guy. I end up talking to Scott Walden about it, and at that point, the tires started kicking. UTEP really went after the guy heavy, and I was so happy to hear about that. He took his official visit and loved El Paso. Malachi Nelson may have had bigger offers on the table, but he wanted to come here and play for the UTEP football team. I think that's a testament to El Paso, the Sun Bowl, Scotty Walden and his staff, who have done such a great job in this 1 year. Nelson was viewed as a 3-star recruit in the transfer portal this time around. The Miners brought in their best recruiting class in program history as well. They brought in 35 players as well as a new offensive coordinator in Mark Kalla and defensive coordinator in Bobby Daly. Nelson was not promised a starting quarterback job coming in, according to the El Paso Times, when he usurped Skylar Locklear as Cade McConnell is out after getting wrist surgery. Walden spoke on Nelson saying, "I've been super impressed with his ability to relate to the team and to adapt to our culture. When you recruit a guy as high profile as him, we did extensive research. I have been so impressed with how he's come in and bought into our culture and how hard he works. It's been fun. He's extremely intelligent from a talent standpoint. He has an elite arm talent. It's evident that he was highly recruited. Now it's a matter of training his eyes and his feet to be in alignment with where his progression needs to be. He's a very, very smart kid. I've been really impressed with him." Walden has been impressed with his whole quarterback room overall, though. Although they brought in a new offense coordinator, Walden will still be the play caller, meaning that his offense will look pretty similar to last year. Walden spoke on the defense, saying defensively our structure is going to remain the same. 5 years ago, we started running this defensive system. Coach Daly has a little different background, but he understood in the interview process, we're not changing our terminology or our structure, but the coordinator has to be right to put his own spin on it. You'll see some new things he'll add that is pretty cool and be helpful for our guys. They will be replacing all conference players in Maurice Westmoreland and Kyron Duhan on defense as they went after a bunch of guys through the transfer portal. When it came to overall guys to keep an eye on, Walden cited offensive lineman Mark Robinson, defensive back Neil Campbell, and punter Noah Botsford. Robinson is a transfer from NAIA school, Southeastern University. He comes to an offensive line with 3 returning starters. He will be expected to fill the hole left by departing tackle Isaiah Wright. Campbell is another NAIA grad, as he was an All-American last year, his 5th at Indiana Wesleyan. UTEP is starting over at punter, and Botsford, who comes from Valdosta State, is the likely one. Phil Steele believes there's a lot to like with this team writing. They are bigger and stronger and have a manageable schedule. They will easily top 3 wins and flirt with bowl eligibility. He projects them to finish 5th in the Conference USA behind Liberty, Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, and New Mexico State. Others like Dave Campbell Football are talking about the possibility of a 10-win season in El Paso. The Miners avoid Western Kentucky and host Liberty while playing most of the FBS newcomers and bottom barrel Conference USA teams on the road. If they survive their first 6 games at Utah State, home against UT Martin, at Texas, home against UL Monroe, Louisiana Tech, and Liberty. They could be in store for the best year the program has seen in over a century if they are sitting at 3-3 or 4-2. They close out the regular season on the road against Sam Houston and Kennesaw State, host Jack State, then travel to Missouri State, which is viewed as a trap game, host rival New Mexico State in their biggest game of the year, before closing out on the road against Delaware. Dave Campbell's Texas Football writes, pull a couple of the upsets early in the Conference USA schedule and UTEP could be a dark horse contender in the same way Sam Houston became last year. That 5-game stretch to close out the regular season includes 2 new FBS programs and 3 schools with new head coaches. A 4-1 or 5-0 record is a real possibility during that time of the year. Year 2 under Walden could be a major launching off point for the program that could possibly take it to the next level if things worked out, especially with this being UTEP's last season in the Conference USA. Next year, the Miners will join the Mountain West Conference. EO Sports wrote back in June, the money made from the Mountain West TV deal could be more than 4 times as much as UTEP's making with Conference USA's. That's going off of the current numbers of those deals. UTEP President Heather Wilson said, there's no doubt this will be better for our student athletes, our fans, and for El Paso. We look forward to rekindling former rivalries and welcoming teams and their fans to El Paso. While Mountain West Conference Commissioner Gloria Nevarez said in the press release, we are excited to welcome the University of Texas at El Paso to the Mountain West as the next step in our strategic membership initiatives. The addition of UTEP restores historic rivalries with several of our member institutions within the geographic footprints and provides valuable exposure in the great state of Texas. We welcome and look forward to competing against the student athletes at UTEP. According to The Athletic, UTEP will be paying an $8 million buyout to leave Conference USA, and they will reunite with some old rivals from the WAC Conference they were a part of from 1968 to 2004. Finally, after so much misery, it looks like UTEP is going to be going in the right direction under Scott Walden. Hopefully they can live up to expectations this season and get the Sun Bowl rocking. What do you think? How does UTEP do this season? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.